Hi everyone, and welcome to this video series we're calling Looking at Transformers Movies. As some of you may know, there's a new Transformers movie coming out in June of 2023. We're recording this in January of 2023. And to get ready, we're kind of going to go through the entire Transformers series as we've defined it, me and my co-host Tommy. And
Hi.
so as you can see, we have all the Transformers movies lined up here. Again, and we swear these are part of the canon. We're going to explain why we believe that, and then also just go through these movies through a series of critical lenses and sort of look at them as in a different perspective than just, oh, this is bad because it's not like the cartoon or, a lot of the reasons you hear the Transformers movies are typically bad. We're not saying they're good, but we're saying let's take a look at them from a different perspective. But to be fair, also, if you've seen like the Lindsay Ellis videos, you may have gotten a taste of this perspective already. But I think we're also going to just add a different perspective on it in general. So let's get into it. So yeah, in case this isn't obvious to you yet, we will be looking at all of the live-action Transformers films that have come out so far, and then that'll all culminate in a discussion about Rise of the Beasts. This is going to be a little different than just like a regular like podcast discussion where we just go through the plot linearly. We'll sort of be looking at it through a more structured way. That's sort of like a college class to a certain extent. I did design these slides originally to be like a college class, as just sort of like a fun project. But what we're, oh my god. But at the same time, at the end, we'll still have a little bit of room for just sort of general discussion about the films. But I just sort of wanted to add my own little spin on talking about these movies instead of just sitting down and just having a basic conversation about them, even if it was structured by like the plot. All right. And this time I'd like to introduce myself real quick. I go by Greg. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. Favorite movies, Transformers Age of Extinction. So that hopefully tells you why I want to do this series a little bit. And I'm an aspiring secondary school English teacher who loves movies with funny stuff and political shit. And I'd like to give my co-host a chance to introduce himself. Tommy, go for it.
Hi, I'm Tommy. Pronouns he, him, they, them, all that good stuff. Love movies too. Gay critic. My letterbox is Tom the Movie Guy. And one of my favorite movies is Love, Simon. And that's in the series too, and we'll get to that bridge when we come to it.
Yeah, so we both have a Transformers movie as one of our favorite movies, so hopefully that gives us a little bit of validity in what we're talking about. And then I also want to highlight you also got X-Men Days of Future Past on here. That was one of the best
Oh yeah, sure do.
experiences we had in the theater for sure. I gotta say though,
Oh,
Tommy,
definitely.
as much as I loved seeing that when we saw it, and it was so much fun to see with you, I may have loved Age of Extinction just a little bit more, but we'll get into that when we get into that.
If I didn't go to theater camp that week, I would have gone and seen Age of
I
Extinction with
know, you
you.
missed it,
Yep.
dude. You missed it.
Oh man, that's a great story too.
All right.
Literally, I was at theater. Oh, we'll get to that when we get there.
Okay. When we get to Age of Extinction.
Exactly.
All right. I'm just curious if that's really coming up. I guess honestly, I wasn't sure if I was going to cut this, but let's just go through it, and we can cut it in editing if we need to. Um, Really, again, like if I structured this series more to be like a class discussion as opposed to just like a generic film review. And so I did include essential questions, which is something you have to include in lessons as a teacher. And our essential question in this class is going to be, how do we determine what a film values? And we're going to be sort of looking at the Transformers movies as like, if these are big blockbuster movies that everybody's seeing, then what is it saying about our culture that they're successful and that people... What's funny about these movies is that I don't hear a lot of people that really like them, but they made a lot of money when they were coming out, so we're going to talk about that. And then just alternatives to that question, who or what is important in these films, and is what is presented as important meaningful to us, the audience, or is it just something Hollywood pushes on us as being meaningful, and do we just accept it as that? And then some initial speculation questions, what type of characters are typically the most important in Hollywood films, and what types of stories are normally told in Hollywood films. Again, we'll get there when we get there. A quick little peek at the critical theories we're going to apply. There's going to be more added here because essentially the plan is right now we're kind of going to do one or two a film. And obviously you only see about, or arguably five, but basically four here that we're going to apply to each film. And we have four more films after that, and then Rise of the Beast after that too, so 9 films in total, so I'm going to have to keep working on that. If you want, you can pause this video for a second and just read through them, but the one that we're going to be focusing on today is, I put queer theory / feminist theory, but really we're going to mostly focus on feminist theory today, and then we'll take a look at queer theory in the next video and sort of look at the first two movies and how it applies to those movies. But our main question for Feminist theory would be the default protagonist, and the central question is, why do we follow who we follow in a film? And then before we get into that, though, I want to quickly define the difference between a theme and a theory. And then, because sometimes they can be a little construed. Some people think a theory is a theme or a theme is a theory. So let's just quickly review and see what the difference between those two things are. Defining a theme. All right, Tommy, I'm going to ask you your first question for the class. In a story, book, show, movie, or video game, what is a theme?
Oh man, I think a theme is a central idea for which the storyteller wants to convey to its audience.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
That's perfect. Oh, good.
Yeah, because I'll
thought I was gonna.
Yeah,
because I thought I was gonna mess up on the first day. Yeah,
no,
thought I was gonna mess up. Oh wow! Woo.
To convey to their audience. I'll tell you. That lines up perfectly with how I'm going to explain it. So I'm glad we're on the same page already.
Woo.
And so did you want to add anything else, or?
No, that's it. Yeah.
All right, and then what is another way we can think about theme? To help you out here, I have this quote from Optimus Prime. Think about one of the words that he says here is another way to think about theme. I am Optimus Prime, and I send this message to any surviving Autobots taking refuge among the stars. We are here, we are waiting. So what could a theme be, another word for it? If it's something that the author wants you to understand.
Oh. Oh my gosh.
I send this message.
Oh my god, it's a message. Of course it is. Yeah.
It's all good. It's all good.
Moral of the story. All.
Message, moral of the story. Yeah. There you go.
All.
And then I have some pictures here that sort of exemplify what I think are the, each movie can have several themes, but a crucial theme in each of the Transformers movies, or at least an attempt at a crucial theme. So like the first one, they say the term no sacrifice, no victory a lot. We'll talk about how valid that is later on. Dare to be stupid, I think, kind of applies to the second film, and I don't just mean that as an insult. I legitimately think there's some validity to that, and we'll get that when we get to Revenge of the Fallen. Megatron must be stopped. Yeah, Tommy?
Yeah.
Megatron must be stopped, no matter the cost. Again, we'll get to that when we get to Dark of the Moon, but that's actually a quote from the original Transformers animated movie 2. And then something to... way to express the theme or the conflict, at least in the fourth movie, we have this lovely quote from Bush, President Bush.
Either you are with us or you are with the terrorists.
We will get to that when we get to that, but we're just focusing on today. All right.
Yes.
And then let's define critical theory real quick. Critical theory is similar to theme analysis in that they both ask us to look closely at how specific concepts and ideas are explored, whether that concept be freedom or feminism. However, when applying theory, you are encouraged to question the generally accepted notions on concepts being discussed, such as why are the female characters secondary to the male ones? Why are there no overtly queer characters? Or why are there no primary characters of color? And Tommy, the reason I like your definition of theme so much is because you put it as something the author wants you, the filmmaker wants you to get. The storyteller, that was a good phrase too. Something the storyteller wants you to get out of it. Where theory, we're sort of looking at what's the author ignoring, or what are we ignoring? What does the author expect us to ignore? That's what theory asks us to call into question. Where theme is like, oh, the author wanted us to get this. That's debatable. Like themes aren't always intentional, but it's sort of a way to generalize the discourse for sure. Generalize in the discourse. So that's why I liked your definition so much, Tommy. All right. And then we have the quick acknowledgement of theory limitation. Tommy has agreed that he's okay with this acknowledgement. This series is meant to encourage people to begin to challenge our generally accepted notions when looking at a text, meaning a film, but it must be acknowledged that the lenses we will be using in this series coming from a very mainstream space, developed mostly by white voices. Your host would like to acknowledge that they come from white mainstream backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, and both identify as cis men.
Yes.
But not both straight men.
Not both straight men, no.
All right. Intro to feminist theory. We're going to mainly be focusing on a character that's not in the film, known as RC, who's from the Transformers lore. She's like the default. I shouldn't say that. She's the most popular female Transformer. And then, of course, we're going to talk about Michaela Baines, who I'm wondering if any of you even remember that name. Who haven't seen this film in a while, or even have only just seen it, once, or maybe even a few times. All right.
I didn't even know she had a last name.
Oh, they say it in the film.
I don't even remember.
They might not. I might just know that from like wiki pages and stuff. It's possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might not say Michaela Baines in the film. Here's just my little intro slides. It gives you some specs about the film: the runtime, the actors, the budget, the box office, the Rotten Tomatoes score, which we'll be tracking throughout the series. But most importantly, Tommy, do you want to read the plot synopsis at the bottom, just to sort of remind people what this movie's about?
All right. Teenager Michaela and Sam get involved in an ancient war between two alien robot factions, the Autobots and the Decepticons.
Is that a fair synopsis so far? Am I leaving out like 3 different subplots of the film?
Oh, fine. I mean, it's probably if this was the synopsis, I would have liked the movie. If this was like straight up, but like the only plot line we had to follow, I would have liked this movie so much better.
All right, but first let's take a look at the poster before we really think about what's in the final film. What do you notice? Who are the most prominent characters featured on the poster? What is our only featured overt female character doing with our male character in the center?
Okay, so if you're asking me this, clearly the robots are the stars.
That's what the
Clearly,
poster's telling you?
Oh yeah, the robots are like up close, center, on top of the frame. Clearly, you expect them to be the stars. Whether or not they actually are the stars in the movie is up to be debated. At the bottom, you see. Gotta look real close to here. Well, there's Shia in the center, so you think he's the star.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's Josh Duhamel. You think he's prominent in the movie. Kind of. Then there's Megan Fox not way in like the left. I don't even see what she's doing because she is so small in the poster, but she's there to be eye candy. What?
Oh, I was just gonna say, she's kind of got her arms on Shia, right? Or at least one of them.
Yeah, I guess. She's there to support Shia, yeah.
Don't worry, everybody, this is gonna have a straight love story.
Yeah, this will. You can take your kids.
Alright, and then let's quickly define feminist theory / lens. The definition, academic analysis that aims to understand the nature of gender inequality. Pulled that straight out of Wiki. And my own definition, an investigation into why a male protagonist is expected in media, and any deviation from that is typically scrutinized. Scrutiny is not inherently a negative term, but you can read it as you will. Critical questions. Why are female characters typically treated as secondary to male characters in media? What do we typically expect of female characters versus male characters just in media and stories? All right, but before we jump into our main human female character, let's quickly meet our Autobot crew. Pretty cool shot recreation, right? If you've seen the movie, this is sort of like when all the Autobots are huddled around Sam asking for the glasses. But which character is missing from this recreation? Can you tell, Tommy?
I don't know any of these fucking robots.
Well,
I don't know any about.
Well, I'm asking, is there a character? Look at the center. What human character is represented, do you think?
Oh my god, they're missing Megan Fox here.
Maybe they didn't have the Megan Fox figure. I know there is one of like the same kind that like the Shia one is. But yeah, they're leaving her out of that picture.
Oh, okay.
And then, and if we're talking about gender, if we're talking about feminism, just from what you saw in the film, Tommy, what can you tell me about the Autobot crew and just all the Transformers in general?
Oh, they're all men.
They're all boys. They're all dudes. At least that's how we perceive them, right? Just in terms of how they behave.
Oh yeah, because they don't have genitalia, so yeah, they're seen as male.
Yep, and yeah.
Well, actually, we'll get that when we get to the second movie, but yeah, they're all.
Yeah, we will see an RC in the next movie. She does so many amazing things.
Absolutely.
All right, let's address RC though. Why RC is not in the film, because this picture that I showed earlier and this one right here was like going to be her design for this movie. It's not, this isn't a fan art. This is like actually, I'm pretty sure. At the very least, there was a toy of her released for this movie, and this is generally what she looked like. This is more of like a complicated CG rendering of it. All right. Anyways, a version of the most popular female Autobot from the original cartoon RC was going to be in Transformers 2007, but was cut and replaced with the Autobot Ironhide. Here's a quote from one of the screenwriters that explains why she was cut. Tommy, you want to read that, or should I read that? On the right side.
Oh yeah, I can do that.
Go for it.
I would have liked to have seen RC, but the idea of a female Transformers needs its own explanation, and there wasn't going to be enough time. It would have been like, oh, that's convenient. They're trying to appease women with a pink Transformer. So rather than having that happen, let it just be a straight shot and speak for itself now. And that's from the good old Roberto Orsi, who is a famous screenwriter.
Yeah,
I guess.
One of the screenwriters on the film. 2 screenwriters, 3 story people. Yeah, 1 director.
Yep. Yes, instead of just cutting out the billions of dumb plot lines, they said no, those plot lines need to be in the movie, but the female Transformer, not enough time for her. Even though we bought tickets for a movie called Transformers.
Yep, can't.
Okay.
How could there be a lady one? There's just normal ones, right? I'm using sarcasm. That was more for the audience.
I know.
All right, so let's. You've already given a pretty good response to that, but let's just unpack it a little bit more. No lady bots equals simplicity is what I'm reading from Roberto Orci. Discussion questions: is the screenwriter right? Would a lady bot have just been too confusing for audiences to understand? Does that mean Optimus, Ratchet, Ironhide, Jazz are all genderless? Or do we think of those 4 Autobots as male? Do we think of Bumblebee as male? What will most people watching these films consider the Autobots to be gender-wise? I think you kind of answered those questions already, right, Tommy? But is there anything else you want to add?
No, I mean, they clearly did it. I mean, they did it because here's really the reason why they do it, and I've heard this in a sociology class. Statistically speaking, girls will go and see male-oriented movies, but boys will not go and see female-oriented movies. So they figured they could save on CGI costs and all that, and still get the same monetary result if they didn't have RC in this movie, and it wouldn't have been an issue because little Bobby and his sister Gina would still go see the Transformers movie regardless of whether or not RC would appear in the movie, because you could have the soldiers and all that stuff and the storyline with the hackers, and that would be completely fine with the boy audience. They wouldn't care, but that costs less money than to have another CGI Transformer in the movie.
Yeah, or just even just to be more technical about it, like they said specifically they swapped out RC for Ironhide, so and then just maybe Ironhide's more expensive to make just because he's way bigger. I don't know, but so they were gonna have 5 Autobots regardless. They just decided to get rid of RC and then have big muscly Ironhide come in instead, big macho Ironhide. So I do this. Do you think, and you just think that there's some validity to, not even validity, but what do you think Orsi's really saying when he's saying, oh, we were just worried people would read it as, oh, we're trying to appease women with this character, and then, let's just make it a straight shot. That comment, that straight shot and speak for itself now. It's like, yeah, if it had a female Transformer, we would have just rejected the film. Would some people have done that? I mean, possibly, but should they have backed down? I don't think so.
No, just.
And that doesn't even matter because in the very next film, RC's there and no one says anything. There's never an attempt. This whole thing about like explanation, right? It's like that never happens in the next film. Like no one ever tries to explain how RC can be a female Transformer.
Yeah, I don't. I think he's expecting way too much of this audience who went to go see a fighting robot movie.
All right, and then I do have the introduction clip here. We probably don't. What do you think? Do we need to watch it, or you think you're good?
I think we'll just ask me the questions, and we'll
Okay.
if we have to backtrack, we'll backtrack.
All right, sounds good. Yeah, so just so the audience knows, I'll be putting links to each of these clips and sort of like where you should watch them in the video if you want to watch them, because these are all just like YouTube clips. Um, so you can watch them for yourself, but just to save time and the fact that Tommy just watched this last night or 2 nights ago, and I've seen this movie 80 billion times, we don't need to watch it, but we'll definitely have these clips here to sort of reference specific points.
Okay.
Also, we don't want to get copyright stricken just because we have minutes of these clips playing, which is fair, but you know.
Yeah.
So just to make it easier on everybody, I will have the clips available in the description. Deeper thinking, gender expectation. Why do you think the screenwriter believes robots coded with primarily male gender characteristics is something the audience will easily accept, but a robot coded with primarily female gender characteristics would be something we need an explanation for? Does this relate to why we typically relegate female characters in mainstream films to secondary roles? Again, I think you've already addressed a lot of that, Tommy, but if you want to respond to any more of it, have at it.
Oh, I already explained I explained my piece. They heard it.
All right. All right, now let's address this idea of the everyman hero. One of the quotes from Steven Spielberg, who was a producer on this film, that jumped out at me. He's also the person who was responsible, or at least asked the director to come and make the project. We have Spielberg saying, pitching the movie as, make this a story about a boy in his car, because it's something everyone can relate to, which is an interesting quote, because I think we kind of see that, at least later. We definitely, it's an obvious thing, right? I mean, if you're going to make a Transformers movie, make it about someone getting their first car. We see that sort of reflected in Love, Simon, and Bumblebee again, more reinforced. So, it's throughout the series to a certain extent, but sort of just wondering, with a non sequitur there, what's another name we can use to describe a boy in his car story?
Coming of age.
Coming of age, Tommy. Good job.
Yeah.
Sorry, when I taught this class, they were struggling with that one, which I'm not saying I think I just didn't have the best cue for it, so I was wondering how you're going to respond to it, but perfect. Coming of age. Yes. And then, do we think of boy coming of age stories, different than ones that, like, girls would go through in a story, or non-binary people? Is a different thing when a boy comes of age versus when a girl comes of age, or someone who's non-binary comes of age? Are those different narratives, or is it all the same? And is it all about things like, getting your first car, falling in love? That kind of happens in Bumblebee, right? I mean, Haley Steinfeld's character, Charlie, it's about her getting her first car that works.
Yeah, I mean, the only difference I can see between this movie and Bumblebee is that Haley Steinfeld isn't trying to get with someone by having the car in the movie.
Yep.
So
that's a good point. Her motivation for wanting is different.
Yeah, so essentially, the only way I can say this, and it's probably too obscene for this video, is Shia is following his junk in this movie, whereas Haley Steinfeld is not.
Oh, you already dropped an F-bomb. We're already X-rated on this.
Oh,
no, that's
I
good.
thought
That's
you'd edit that one out.
I think that's good, Tommy. What you just said. Yeah. Any other comments on that?
Okay. No, I just think he's trying to get his straight male, his straight male motivation in this movie, which is to be a straight male, get with the girl, get the car, get the girl. Finally, yeah.
For sure.
For sure.
All right, let's meet our protagonists. Michaela Baines, portrayed by Megan Fox, and Sam Witwicky, portrayed by Shia LaBeouf. Let's take a look at how Shia is discussed first, though, by the director and the casting director on the film. You think, Tommy, you want to read this first quote?
Okay. What I like about Shia is he's the everyday dude, but he's got good at improv, and he's got a great comic wit.
Wit.
Wits. Yes.
Yeah,
yep. And I don't know how this person sounds like, so I'll say, most importantly, so that's Michael Bay saying that, and the Michael Lovett is saying, most importantly, he can keep up with Bay. Bay is constantly evolving the characters, constantly throwing something different at you, which is casting director Michael Lovett saying that about
Michelle
Shia
Lewitt.
LaBeouf. Michelle Lewitt. Oh, sorry, Michelle Lewitt.
It's all good. All right, and then we'll look at how Fox was discussed. Bay talked about how hot Michaela was going to be. We talked about finding literally the most gorgeous 18-year-old out there was. I'm like, what? There what? Oh, 18-year-old there was out there, which I think we did. Again, that's Michelle Lewitt, the casting director. And then we got another quote from the director, film director. Megan, I don't know. I just liked her look. I like that no one really knew about her. I think Shia helped her out. That energy between it kind of works. And then we have a quote from Fox herself. The only thing Mike asked me when I was auditioning was, "Can you run?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think so." The other thing he asked me was, "Do you have a nice stomach?" And I said, "Well, in my opinion, yes." So,
Oh, well,
what
then I have some comments about that. Yeah.
what are some differences? But what's the difference in how the two are being described? The two leads are being described by their director crew, and then even how more think about. I was more asking you to think about like how is Fox. What is Fox saying that Bay is saying about her as an actress?
Well, with Shia, and I think this is clear in the film, they like Shia LaBeouf's energy and his like acting abilities from being on Even Stevens. He clearly knows how to act and to have a comedic timing, and that's all clear in the film. The nicest thing I could say about this film is Shia LaBeouf is probably regardless of how you think of him as a person today, his comedic timing for this movie was spot on, and he is the best person cast in this role. And so clearly they like that. And with Megan Fox, it's clear that they wanted to put their camera on some. They wanted Megan Fox there to be the literal eye candy for all the young males sitting through a Transformers movie to look at and say, "Ooh, she's cute." And Michael Bay needed was the physical appearance for the movie. And Megan Fox knew that was going to be the case. And the casting director, being a woman, knew that was going to be the case too, because they wanted to sell this movie for young men, and that they wanted to get the eye candy for Megan Fox. And the acting was just irrelevant, because he was aiming for the lowest common denominator for female characters for this movie. That's what it was.
Very good, Tommy. All right, let's talk about their introductions a little bit. Again, I got 6 minutes of the movie here. I'm going to read through the questions, Tommy, and then you can tell me if you want to watch it or not. This is how the audience is introduced to the main male protagonist. While watching these scenes, ask yourself what moments are supposed to get the audience on Sam's side. What does Sam care about? What is he currently trying to accomplish? How does Sam go about getting what he wants? I think that's the most essential question.
Well, he does it by this is the school scene, right?
Yeah,
The scene
sorry,
where he's at school.
Maybe I can play it on mute and then we won't get a copyright strike. Where it's like, yeah, he's at school. He's showing off his grandfather's sailing equipment and asking if people want to buy it. And then Dad picks him up from school. Says, I got the A minus, so you have to pay for half my car now. They go to the car dealership. He wants to get the cool Camaro. Yeah, that stuff in the movie.
I mean, so he goes about this, having the presentation, having that talk with the teacher. He's like, I got the boy, the dad of this boy promising. So he basically sells his grandpa's stuff, saying, "Oh, I got this thing. You can get this on eBay. Which he does that so he can pay for half the car, which is essentially he wants to pay half the car, so he's selling all his stuff on eBay. I don't know how he gets permission from his dad to sell his grandfather's stuff on eBay, but he clearly does. That's a plot hole. I don't know how he thinks that him selling.
Well, it just tells us that the dad doesn't care either, or maybe Shia doesn't, or maybe the dad doesn't know.
That could be the case, yeah. And all that stuff. And I'm watching the scene. I'm like, he could actually do really well on this project with his dad being his grandfather being an explorer. If he didn't try to sell his stuff on eBay, so he's not the brightest of kids. He probably would have gotten at least an A or an A minus had he not done that.
Yeah.
Straight away, because come on. With a family lineage project, He that seems very simple for a high school class. I'm just saying.
Yeah, if he was, yeah, yeah.
And he's from.
If he was hawking,
And he,
if somebody was hawking their great grandfather's crap in my classroom, to quote the teacher in this movie, I would not be giving them a B minus. They'd be getting much lower grade.
but if he, but to be fair, if he was in your classroom, he told the story about his grandfather being an explorer for a family lineage project. He and not hawk the stuff. You probably would go for the A, right?
Yeah, I think overall, like I don't know if I would have given an A. It was so simplistic. I don't know. I need to see the rubric. I need to be able to make sure Shy is following all of the directions. Um,
And he did it with he did not have time to do that presentation because he's like not even halfway through a decent presentation, and the bell rings and people are leaving.
yeah.
He did not get enough time. He did not serve his time. I mean, again, public high school, you probably didn't get enough.
So what are you arguing? What's are you saying? This gets us to like Shia or Sam? Or are you saying that this? What are you thinking?
I mean, I if I were 13, 14 and wanted to buy my first car, I would go like Shia. But because I'm 27 now, and I'm just like, why are you doing this, kid? Why didn't you just get a job at McDonald's and actually do your studying right to get your damn car? Because you probably could have earned the $2,000. You probably could have gotten 4,000 within a few months and gotten your damn car.
Well, he has the money. That's the weird thing. I think later on it's implied that he just wants, like he said, no, not even implied. He says it. When he gets home and he's checking his eBay bids, he says, "Okay, I need money to take out the girl now."
So he has the money, and so he why didn't you just try harder to get your grant? One thing at a time, Sam. One thing at a time.
For sure. All right.
But again, no, I gotta get. I'm sorry. That was this whole main point of the thing with the speech with the teacher. It's he does it so well. He does his speaking so well that I'd kind of be on his side too. Yeah, with the teacher. And so we got to get to the car dealership. Huh? Is that what we have to get to?
Well, I'm more asking, how does Shia, when something's not going Shia's way or he's not getting what he wants, what does he try to do to try to get?
He does persuasive arguing. He does this, and he does showboating speeches, which is completely the best part of this movie. Completely, as far as character work, that's the best part that Bay got was with Shia.
That he's able to just persuade people into getting what he needs or getting what he wants.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
And the way Shia does his line readings, yeah.
Yeah, because in this part, he's telling his teacher this whole sob story about, my dad promised me that if I got to 3 A's and $2,000, he'd pay for half my car, meaning for $4,000 car. The teacher's just blankly listening to him, and he ends the scene by asking, just ask yourself, sir, what would Jesus do? And then it works. He gets the A minus, and then his dad's gonna help buy his car.
Jesus do? Oh my God.
And then later on, when he's trying to get the Camaro car, which turns to be Bumblebee, Shia, Bernie Mac's the Bernie Mac character's asking for $5,000 and they only have $4,000, so Shia tries to use his own words against him by asking him, "You told me cars pick their drivers." And then Bernie Mac gives the best line of the movie. "Well, sometimes they pick the father with the cheap. They pick the driver with the cheap ass father. Get out of the car." So yeah, he likes to argue his way into getting what he wants, right?
Yeah, that's what teenage boys do.
Fair enough.
They wrote a good teenage boy here.
Oh man, there's so much to unpack. All right, let's talk about Michaela. Oh
God, you don't have to show me this clip. I remember this
but
scene.
let me just remind you. Just that we're at the park. Shia is there. Shia shows up to question mark. Shia shows up just to show off his car, I think, but his bully's there, but also the girl he likes there, Megan Fox's character. And he walks up to the bully and just starts. The bully literally the bully says the first thing to him, but he walks up to the bully, starts engaging in this conversation. Sorry, I'm trying to focus on Michaela. Michaela gets irritated with her boyfriend, who is also Sam's bully, for being mean to Sam, but also being disrespectful to her. So she walks out, and then Shia picks her up on the way. Drives out to pick her up, to give her a ride home, and then they get stuck in this scene.
Oh my God! Yeah, that scene. Oh yes.
All right, Tommy.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Okay, let me ask you
I'm
the
sure the.
questions. Let me ask you the questions, and then you can respond. What moments are supposed to get the audience on Michaela's side? What does Michaela care about? What is she trying to accomplish as a person? How does Michaela go about getting what she wants? And how does Michaela feel about herself?
Oh, I wish Michael Bay did a better job, but I have to do
We
the work for
we
him.
we will address the camera work and the way the scene is in a bit, I promise. But just try to think about Michaela as a character, whether that's even just on paper. What
Okay,
you
so we're
saw
just
in the
talking
film.
about what I saw in the whole film and not just the scene.
In,
So
in this in these early scenes, what's Michaela care about? What's upsetting her? That kind of stuff.
again, what's upset? I know the only thing I can think of what's upsetting her is that her stupid boyfriend will let her drive the damn car. That her
How does she respond?
jocked up. She walks away and says, "Oh, you're the worst," and you're this, and then walks away. And she just kind of passively walks away.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really get what she cares about in this scene at all as a person. You
Well,
don't get
what
that.
does that tell us that she wants? I mean, her boyfriend. The reason her boyfriend is rude to
I
her
know
is
she
because
wants.
she asks to drive the car, and the boyfriend just says, "Nah, I don't want you messing up my car. Just hop in the back seat, my little bunny," and then my little pony. Um,
Oh God. No, she
that's a
wants to be
mistake.
respected.
That's not said in the film. Um, she's walking away from
The boy,
someone.
she wants some douchey boyfriend. She wants the typical beach bully, has the girl straight up out of an '80s movie.
But she's walking away from it. She wants someone that's going to respect her, right?
Exactly. She wants a guy that's going to respect her.
So she
Not the director.
goes into Shia LaBeouf's hands.
Yeah, she goes to Shia LaBeouf's car. Because
Perfect
Shia
solution.
LaBeouf, yeah, perfect solution. She don't need. She wants another man who isn't as so. She wants the scrawny boy because chances are you're probably going to get the young scrawny boy seeing this movie, so they want someone they can relate to.
So,
Anyway,
and then Michaela does talk about in this the infamous car hood scene about wanting just well, not wanting, but she talks about how her dad taught her how to fix cars, but how her boyfriends, or at least Trent, the jock we've seen, doesn't like it when she talks about cars, makes him feel insecure, and like she's better at him with cars. Um, so we just sort of get this idea that she has this skill that's typically associated as being something men are into, but then makes the men in her life feel uncomfortable or just like that's not something a girl should do. Uh, any thoughts, Tommy, or should we move on?
no, you nailed it. You nailed it, Greg. I can't add any more
we
to
will
it.
address we will address the directing in a minute, but just on its own, that is what Michaela's about, right? Wanting some respect, wanting to be part of her, wanting to actually be able to participate in her passion.
Absolutely.
All right. And she's not just good with cars and like isn't passionate about it. She gets excited like when she opens Bumblebee's hood and is like, "Oh, that's a pretty awesome engine," or whatever. I don't know the car lingo, but she's
No, I don't know either.
We see that she actually is interested in that stuff. It's not like she's just good at it, and then that's it. Anyways, let's think about the tropes Michaela avoids as a character. So, is Michaela a damsel in distress at any point in the film? What is her response when confronted with conflict? And then I do want us to actually watch some of these scenes too, or at least think about them. You can tell me if you want to watch them, but so just yes or no, Tommy. Does Michaela ever get kidnapped and need to be saved in the movie?
No more than Shia LaBeouf does, so there's that.
Yeah. Yeah, every time she is
Yeah.
being saved, it's usually by the Autobots also saving her and Shia, so yeah.
Yep.
And then what is her response to conflict in the film?
I don't remember. We should probably just look at the clips then.
All right. Oh, dang it, I lost one of them then. So we have, oh no, it's gonna end the recording if I go full screen, I think. Here, I'll try. All right, so we're gonna quickly sample this scene, at least this part of the scene, when during the final battle, Bumblebee's injured, his legs were blown off. Michaela went to go get a tow truck. Again, thinking about how she responds to conflict, where Shia is just kind of sitting in front of Bumblebee saying, I'm not going to leave you. Michaela's out trying to find a way to save Bumblebee. And then we get this exchange, though, when Duhamel's character comes back, the military guy, and just sort of tells them what he thinks they need to do in this situation.
Okay, what? All right, I can't leave my guys back there, so here, take this flare. Okay, there's a tall white building with statues on top. Go to the roof. Set the flare. No. Signal the chopper and set the flare. I can't do this. Listen to me, you're a soldier now. All right, I need you to take this cube, get it into military hands while we hold them off. There are a lot of people are gonna die. You gotta go, you gotta go.
No, I'm not leaving.
You need to go.
No, I'm not leaving until I get Bumblebee out of here, okay?
Army Black Hawk requested immediate evac to civilian boy with precious cargo.
All right, so there's that clip. And then how does that compare to how she sort of deals with her jock boyfriend earlier?
I mean, the only difference is, well, she's in that scene. All she does is walk away and refuses him, and in this scene, she stays around and refuses the man. So it's essentially saying, no, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to do this. But the difference is, one she leaves, the other she stays and saves the day, saves the male robot from certain death.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, to a certain extent. I mean, in literalness, in a literal sense, she's still kind of running away, right? Because she chains Bumblebee up, and they both drive out together. Just chain him up, and then it's like, I'm gonna get out of here. Don't worry. So she's still sort of running away, right? A little bit. But but at the same time, she's still saying, like, I'm still going to do this. I'm going to do this thing, unlike with the boyfriend. Which, I always like to reference, even when I'm making this argument about Michaela's arc, the opposite, the extreme of that in the first situation is not exactly okay either. If her response was to just say, screw you, jock boyfriend, take his keys, and just start driving his car without his permission. Yeah, that'd be a little weird too. But that's sort of what I mean, is like, in both situations, she's still kind of running away from situation, right? But then we do get this part still, right? I'm gonna mute it just for the sake of the censorships. Or the... What do you call it?
It's fair use, sir.
Yeah, but it's YouTube, man.
Oh, I know.
So she's gotten away from Bumblebee. This is sort of the dramatic low point at the climax, right?
Mm-hmm.
Blah, blah, blah. Action.
Oh, yeah.
Then she
what
decides,
we wanted.
We're going back. And she does, she does contribute in the fight, right? It's not like she just goes back and doesn't accomplish anything. She takes down the tank transformer that the military can't seem to take down. Or, she assists in it, in that Bumblebee shoots him, but without her help, Bumblebee couldn't move to get to that battle. So, to quote Lindsay Ellis, she is able to take charge and join in the battle against the bad alien space robots.
Oh, of course.
That quote, but it's okay. All right. So yeah, in general, I see Michaela as a character who is at first she's just kind of ignoring. She's just walking away from problems, walking away from conflict. But then by the end of the film, she's like, "No, I can do this, and I can take control of the situation," which I just think is interesting, considering the way that she's usually treated by the popular discourse of this film, where she's usually just written off as like the boring girlfriend character that doesn't do anything in particular. That's like, I could sort of see boring because Fox's performance is like so low key on this. I don't think she's bad in this, and we'll definitely go into that more throughout the series. I don't think it's a bad performance, but I don't think she's bad in this. No, I think she's amazing in this, and we will get into that. But
agree to disagree, but okay.
All right, I will challenge you on that, good sir. But I understand that it's very low key, so I understand saying she's boring. I can't understand the criticism that she's useless, which gets us to our next slide. Popular discourse reaction to Michaela. Here's how Michaela Baines' character and Fox as an actress have been described by popular internet critics. All right, Tommy, you want to do the first quote?
Oh, I'll definitely quote Arnie. I'm sorry, but you can't act. And other than your tits, I don't see why Sam is interested in you.
All right,
From Arnie Carvalho.
That is one of Tommy's personal friends.
Oh yeah, one of my personal friends, Arnie. We've talked.
I love
Yep.
I love Arnie. I'm calling him out for this quote. I think it's ridiculously hyperbolic and mean spirited. I don't know how else to say it. Don't worry, it gets worse. All right, we got
Can I do Jeremy Johns
yes, you
too?
can.
He's on my
Please.
personal. All right, I'll do a Jeremy Johns. I'm gonna call her
Sandwiches. Not really.
sandwiches because it's degrading and fitting name, and I can't stand her, and it all works.
That's from
Jeremy Johns.
Johns from his Darker Than
Yep.
Moon review, and then maybe
But
the last
she's
one.
not. Yeah, I don't know who this person is, so go for it.
This is Bob Chipman, who I'm a fan of, but I also and he's regretted this quote, which we'll address in a second. But Megan Fox is the most boring, empty, useless, hot chick type actress in years, and she's not any better looking than your average Hooters waitress. All right. So before we really address those quotes, let's just sort of look at that scene. I know you've been chomping at the bit to talk about this. Why is Michaela considered a useless hot chick character? What are the elements of the clips we have watched so far that may have maybe the cause of Michaela being written off as another useless female character? Honestly, I don't feel good about that phrasing, so I'm going to change it. I'm just going to change it to as a useless female character, and because
Okay.
I think we often underread a lot of female roles just because we want to not think about them too hard. What is happening on screen while Michaela's talking about her dad and how men don't like knowing about how good of a mechanic she is? What's happening, Tommy, if you can remember?
Oh God, unfortunately I do. Okay, first off, I don't want to harp on Megan Fox that hard. This is her first movie, and she does get better as an actress, in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Out of the Closet, out of the shadows.
I ironically agree to disagree, and you know what? We'll have the Megan Fox debate about her acting ability at the end. How about that? We should talk about it. We should talk about it, but let's just focus on how she's being filmed right now.
Oh yeah, God! Like, there's literally a scene where it's like Shia LaBeouf is on the left side of the screen, being in left center, and in the right center up close off is her freaking midriff, and I'm like, oh no. Is totally filming her as a sex object, and don't even get me started on the clip where she's fixing the car and the way she's handling the gear shift. Oh my God!
Yeah. And it's
just
yeah. Go ahead.
Director is horny.
But it's the reason I'm so fascinated by this is because again, Lindsay Ellis has pointed this out, but I'm still obsessed with this whole sequence because it's she's talking about how men don't respect her, and then the camera's literally just leering at her. It is so counterintuitive to what's on the page. And with Fox's acting, I think she's doing a good job in this performance. She seems natural to me. She seems believable in this role. But yeah, just the camera is not showing her the same respect that the script and the performance is asking for. It's just so weird. Because yeah, even if this is a scene about here's why Michaela's sympathetic, here's what's going on with her emotionally, the camera's following Shia's perspective, right? I asked this question, whose point of view are we following? It's all Shia of just oh man, I want a piece of that.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, because they want to. Yeah, because that's the male gaze for you.
But again, I want to challenge this reaction that Michaela gets as a character from a lot of the, male internet reviewers. Is essentially what I was focusing on. But that's a lot of what people hear. That's a lot of what people, especially Transformers audience members, may hear. Again, just sort of restating these quotes. We don't have to read them again. But the main question I want to ask is any of this rhetoric helpful in understanding why Michaela Baines is treated by the film the way she is and why audiences have the reaction they do to her? Are any of these quotes asking for stronger female representation in films? And then a quick shout out to Chipman's quote as he has regretted those comments that he made about Megan Fox when he reviewed the 2020 Megan Fox movie Rogue, a really fun movie if anyone hasn't seen that yet. Keep in mind low budget, but I think that's a good film. Our shitty misogynistic pop culture rewards cheap jokes about women more than the deconstruction of actual filmmaking, which I think happens a lot. It happened a lot more back then. It still happens it still happens now. But that's just sort of what I'm asking us to think about when we watch this movie is instead of writing Michaela off and Megan Fox off, let's ask why the film's doing this to her, why the film is treating her as secondary. Any thoughts,
Because,
Thomas?
because they want to sell a movie to teenage boys.
Oh yeah.
It's the straight teenage boy, 12 to 17-year-old boys is the target audience for this movie, and their dads who will be taking the younger kids to these movies.
But is that Megan Fox's fault?
No, it's not her fault. She wanted to act. She wanted to roll.
But that's what Jeremy Johns said, and that's what Arnie said, and that's what Arnie's not really saying that, but like that's what Jeremy said, and that's what Bob said. It's her fault that she's boring in the movie. It's her.
No,
fault.
it's not. It's not her fault. It is not her fault. It's Michael Bay's fault. It's the screenwriter's fault. All Megan Fox did, she's not a very experienced actress at this point in her career. She didn't, she wasn't asked to do it to have experience act. She was done by the casting director. It's not Megan Fox's fault. It's the way it was directed. It was the way it was written.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Everyone's gonna think I'm brainwashing you with my feminist propaganda.
Nah, it's okay.
And then just sort of these questions again. I just kind of want to read them real quick. Just because the filmmaker objectifies his female lead, should that objectification reflect in the discourse about the film? Again, the way people react to Fox of just being like, oh, this is all her fault that, she's objectified. Who do we see getting blamed more in the sampled review quotes for the way Michaela was presented to the audience as a character, the director, or the actress? And Tommy, you responded to that very well.
I did. Yeah, thank you.
And then now we get into my favorite part of this series, which is the why the hell moments. This is when I get to reflect on why is this happening in these movies, because just I think I figured out these movies as just blockbuster product, and then something like this is thrown in here that throws everything out the window, and I'm questioning everything again. That's right, I didn't credit Rachel Taylor. I should do that. Anyways, so we're going to quickly look at the other primary... Did I spell her name wrong? I'm so sorry. We're going to look at the other major female character in the film, Maggie Madsen, who's a computer analyst who's sort of like looking into the Decepticons hacking into Air Force One and things like that. And how she's sort of treated by her superiors, or at least the men in the Pentagon, including John Keller, who's another sort of major character in the subplot, who's the Secretary of Defense of the United States in the film. Obviously.
Yeah, this is the scene where, like, the girl character says, this is what's happening, and this is what's happening, and the straight old white guy's like, get her out of here. We don't want to hear
Tommy,
this.
You already know I wanted to wow you with this scene.
Oh no, I watched the movie and I'm like, oh, we're going to discuss this in this slideshow, for sure.
In this scene, the main analyst we follow in the film, Maggie Madsen, Rachel Taylor, is attempting to explain to the War Room gentlemen, including the Secretary of Defense John Keller, played by John Voight, that whatever hacked into Air Force One must be some kind of sentient living computer. Pay attention to how the men respond to her during this scene. How does the scene get the audience to root for Maggie? Tommy, do you want to watch the scene, or do you just want to talk about it?
Oh, I know, I got it. I saw the movie, I'm like, I know I'm going to talk about this scene. I knew it.
Best scene in the movie. Go for it.
Yeah, it's literally that cliche scene where, like, the scientist person, says something, and of course the secretary's like, that's not right, that's all, get out of my office. And of course Michael Bay makes it very easy to have the young woman be the scientist character. And because she's a woman, they get disregarded by John Voight's character, and they just kick her out of the office so she can go to Anthony Anderson later in the movie. I didn't even know any of these characters' name in that scene. I'm like, okay, that's the young chick, and that's John Voight. And I only know Maggie's name because Anthony Anderson says Maggie later as a comedic point. I'm like, okay, that's how I know her name.
Yeah. But I do love that. I do think the attitude of the scene feels very genuine in that, the way they're disregarding her. One of my friends pointed out this awesome part, or I'm saying awesome because it feels like it's dealing with a real issue where, Maggie tries to make a statement in the room, and she tries to validate her place there by saying, I'm just the analyst that detected the hack, and then John Voight, stops her and says, oh, it was you? And then someone tries to shut her down by saying her team did it, actually, trying to disregard her credit, and just make it more about, like, no, the other guys really did it. She's just taking credit for it. And I'm just like, How is this in this movie? If the rest of the film is treating Megan Fox as just a sex object, how are we having a scene that is this sympathetic to like a woman in the workplace? Why the hell? How does this scene exist? It's crazy.
They just happen to cast a woman. This is literally, well, actually, no, you're actually right about this. It is crazy because
You don't think it's? I mean, I will not be swayed. I think this is totally.
Oh no, it is.
Criticism
Totally
of
is.
sexism in the workplace, and I love the scene.
It totally is.
I just don't know how it's in this movie. That's otherwise incredibly sexist. Um, and then the other crazy stuff is at no point in the film does the camera focus on Maggie's body, such as it does with Michaela. None of the guys on her team try to flirt with her or talk down to her at any point in the film. Her whole team is like these nerdy guys, and they're never like. They never roll her eyes, and she's in charge of everybody. She's like giving everybody directions on what to do in the project, and they're never like irritated with her. They're just trying to keep up with her in a really earnest way. And then she's portrayed as the one who's in charge of the team. And the scenes with Maggie almost feel like they're in a different film compared to the one Michaela is trapped in. So this is the part of the film where I just can't understand. Like, I already think it's interesting enough with Michaela because I do think she's written as a sympathetic character that has emotions and an arc, and then the director kind of takes all that away with the way he shoots her and treats her in the final edit. But this is all pretty straightforward. It's not great. It's just weird that it's in this film.
I mean, I just think it's another subplot that makes this movie too long, but okay.
Yeah, but you understand my point, though, that like we have this one film that's treating sexism in the workplace in a very sympathetic and direct way of just like, yeah, this is wrong. And then there's the other one where they can't seem to decide if Michaela's a real person or if it's just, oh, isn't she hot? It's so weird. All right, one more point, and then we can kind of break off into our more general discussion, Tommy, if you're not already exhausted. Why this matters, comparing the female character arcs. At the start of the film's third act, Maggie has proved herself to Keller, and he asks her to be his advisor through the rest of this alien invasion situation. It is common to see a female character's journey in a Hollywood film to be more about earning a man's respect. How does this compare to the way Michaela deals with the conflicts she is presented with during the climax of the film? Is this about Michaela learning to earn, or is this about Michaela earning a man's respect, the way that Maggie's arc kind of is?
Oh, boy.
I mean, Michaela's like, no, Josh Duhamel, I'm gonna do this, and then she just does it, and Josh doesn't she doesn't wait for Josh's approval.
No, she doesn't. She didn't have to, because Josh Duhamel's not the boss of her, so she can do what she wants, and then the reality is, what's her... Yep, no, she doesn't.
Again, I just think that's interesting for this movie.
Yep, it's interesting, for sure.
Any thoughts, or you want to just move on?
I mean, the problem with Maggie's story arc is that it just seems superfluous to the rest of the film, whereas Megan Fox and Sam are central characters.
Yeah, but remember, at least in this series, it's okay. I'm okay with you bringing that up, and I've agreed with you for a long time on that. Like, if you go back and read my original review of this movie that I wrote back in like 2018, I do complain about that. Like, the hacker thing just need to be gutted from the film because who really cares? But in terms of how we're looking at these movies for this, for at least my presentation part of the class, I am asking like, what's the filmmaker telling us that matters? With Maggie being in the film, the filmmaker's telling me that critiquing and criticizing and at least calling out, maybe it's really just that calling out sexism in the workplace seems to matter to the director on some level, the filmmakers, the writers. That's just that being in the movie, I think, is worth discussing through these lenses.
I mean, I only think that Maggie's even there so Anthony Anderson can have comedic lines to get people to laugh.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're not gonna get me to say that these are well-constructed stories. I just think what they do in these movies is very bizarre and interesting to talk about.
That it is true. Yes.
All right. More candid discussion. That's it for my presentation. Hope you found it at least somewhat interesting, Tommy and audience. Now we just kick back and talk a little bit about the movie. Tommy, what do you want to talk about with Transformers 2007, the best film ever made? That's a joke.
Well, it certainly created a lot of YouTube videos with the Linkin Park song ending the movies. So that's something. It is completely a superfluous 2.5 hour, overly bloated summer blockbuster with cool visual effects.
Tommy, I'm a little worried about you saying this is too long and overbloated when you have 4 more of these coming up.
I know. Oh, I know. It's like Shia is kind of the best part of the movie, and there's some comedic parts that I really like. I like Shia's parents in the movie. I like the fight scenes; they look cool. It passes. If I was if I was watching it summer 2007 and it was hot outside, hot day, had nothing to do, and I saw this movie, I would say, well, it passed the time. It's a pass the time kind of movie that laughs, watch cool action scenes, and it's a simple people. Everyone wants the objects of the MacGuffin movie.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Bay, story-wise, it's all over the place. I would give it a mild recommend if you're the audience for the movie. If
you like
you're
big boobs,
kid.
you like hetero stuff enough.
Sure, go for it. It's watchable. It's watchable.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, what do you think, Greg?
Oh man, I'm debating if I bring this up. Do I bring this up right now, or do I wait for the next one? I feel like the next one's gonna get way too overloaded. I'm gonna not bring this up right now.
Okay.
And we'll talk about it next time because I think it's more prevalent next time. What I will say, I guess it's just kind of inescapable. I guess no, I'll just bring it up right now because I have to. I think Shia's character Sam, no dissing Shia. I like Shia as an actor. Love Peanut Butter Falcon, Holes, awesome stuff. And I don't think he's bad in this. I hate this character so much. I think you know that, right? You know I despise this Sam Witwicky character. Especially in this movie, even though I don't even think this is the worst he gets, but when he gets worse, it gets even more ridiculous. In this film, I don't even know if I can say I hate it now because I've just grown to accept it and just love this film for what it is. But I think he's selfish and self-centered about everything. He only cares about himself. We're going to get into that, I think, more in the next session where we're kind of comparing him in the first film to the second film, because I think that's the most interesting thing to talk about with that second film. But I despise him in this film. Every time I watch him, I'm irritated with him. He's annoying. I just think he's completely self-centered about everything. The way he treats people, the way he treats characters, the way he reacts to when bad things happen to Michaela, or when he learns something about Michaela that may be a problem for both of them. I think I am not, obviously as a teacher, I would not and will not like dehumanize, or what's the word, demonize like teenage boys in the way that I think Michael Bay is, but I am acknowledging I think Michael Bay finds teenage boys completely awful, self-centered asshole people. And
sometimes they are.
And sometimes they are, and I think at the very least I'm appreciating him calling it out the way he is in this movie. I hate the character. I don't hate that it's in the movie because I think it's fascinating that Bay essentially tried to make a teenage boy movie where he made the teenage boy awful and a horrible, obnoxious person. I might be overselling it. I feel like if I rewatch the movie, it won't bother me that much. I think it bothers me the most in this one because this film is supposed to be like the feel-good robot friend movie, and it just fails with me on that in so many levels. Again, we'll kind of get it more into it the next time when I have more clips to sort of compare it to the second film. But then what I find interesting is that, to me, the Megan Fox arc is so much more engaging, but the film, the way it's directed and edited, just seems completely uninterested in her. And I think that is a result of the director, and it's what it is. I'm never going to defend this as, oh, this is a great film that everybody should watch. It's misunderstood, because even when you're looking at it through these feminist lens, when you're watching the film, it's like 20% of the movie or less. Like, it's really not the movie. I just think that's the interesting stuff to talk about. On a more basic level, I do love the aesthetics of this film. I wrote in my notes, I just love all the noises this movie makes. I do love watching it. I love the feel of it. I love the weight of the effects. I think it's fun to watch. I just think on a storytelling level, it fails in so many spectacular ways. Even with the Megan Fox arc, which I like, it's not the focus of the film. When we were looking at that clip earlier of like Josh Duhamel telling Sam to go run around the cube and for Megan Fox to leave, it's like that moment with Shia is like 15, 30 seconds long. The moment with Michaela's 2 to 5 seconds long. It shows it's saying clearly on who it cares about. But I think it's important, if you are going to engage with this film, I think it's important to acknowledge what's going on with Michaela as opposed to just try to write her off as, oh, pointless hot girl character. Don't need to think about that, or just enjoy her as eye candy. I think it's way more interesting than that. But at the same time, yeah, I don't think that this is a good film necessarily. I watched it a lot last year, though, let me tell you. And I would watch it anytime. I love watching it personally. It's just hard to like recommend it. It's like, oh yeah, it's a good movie from start to finish. It's not. It's really not. I just think it's a fascinating piece of blockbuster cinema that calls into question what we value. Like it's supposed to be I think it is supposed to be the feel good teenage boy getting his first car story, but the teenage boy, I don't think the director really likes the teenage boy. I don't think he hates him yet. I don't think he's aware of how he's portraying him. I think this is a way of the director just saying, this is how I see teenage boys. They're all selfish. They all just want to have sex, and that's all there is to them. And I don't think he's completely aware of that yet. And we will get into when he becomes aware of that. But, yeah, I mean, if you love blockbuster films, I think this is one that's worth watching and just sort of questioning. But yeah, I don't know. It's one of those movies where a lot of it it bothers me on a lot of levels, but I've sort of just grown to accept and be like, it's just too much fun to ignore. Though it's such a the result is so fascinating that I can't look away from it. I saw this twice. I saw this twice in theaters last year when they did the 2-night, 15th anniversary showing. I went one day and I went another day. I wanted to see this movie in theaters as much as possible. I even debated going like 3 times, like twice in one day, once in one day, but I was able to restrain myself. Yeah, I just think as a piece of blockbuster cinema, it's an awesome spectacle. It looks great. The effects are still fun and weighty. But as a story, the likable character is not really the star of the movie, and the star of the movie is really unlikable in my opinion, but in fascinating ways. So, love it. Don't know if I recommend it to everybody, but if you want to critique a movie, man, there's a lot of mileage to get out of this thing. All right, how was that for a summation?
Fine by me.
All right. Anything else you want to talk about with it, or?
No, I can't think of anything to say.
All right. Yeah, if you can, and I'll put these in the links too. You can kind of pause and check them out, read what I have to read, what I wrote about them, but just like some optional readings. Obviously, a lot of this was informed by Lindsay Ellis's videos about Transformers. We got this one about framing Megan Fox, which when you watch, you'll be like, hey, Greg, you just ripped this off? I did, but I think it's the most effective way to teach this part of the movie. Don't worry, I'll have more original stuff to say as we go along. And then the RC stuff is there too. We're going to talk about queer theory next week, I think, and throughout probably a couple more of the movies for sure. I don't know, Tom, do you think queer theory will come up with Love, Simon?
I think it'll come up, yes.
Yes, or at least a discussion of queerness.
Uh-huh.
Again, this Lindsay video, absolutely love this quote. Maybe we'll share it later. Maybe I'll read it out loud later, but if you're curious, you can read it. Pause the video and go ahead and read it yourself, or just go watch the Lindsay video. It's great. And then there's this other fun one about how this YouTuber would have fixed Transformers, and they essentially just rewrite it to be about Michaela and RC as sort of the human-robot pair. I thought this was a really fun video and sort of just talks about, what the film could have been if it wasn't filtered through, like, our generic mainstream lens. And then some prep reading for next week. I would recommend watching I would honestly just recommend watching H. Bomber Guy's video essay about the 1986 Transformers movie, because I think the themes of that movie were reflected a lot in Revenge of the Fallen, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then, yeah, if you can actually watch the animated movie too, why not? It's 80 minutes. It's awful. Sorry. But give it a shot. All right, so that's it for us right now. Tommy, if you want to just, you already said at the beginning, but if you want to remind them, and I'll put a link in the video too, where they can follow you at, or how the viewers can follow you.
All right, you can follow my letterbox, Tom the Movie Guy. That's my letterbox handle, and not on Twitter or anything. So You can follow my Instagram. That's Tommy W. I don't remember my Instagram. Never mind. You can't follow my Instagram. Just follow my letterbox, Tom the Movie Guy.
Yeah, follow Letterboxd. All right. We'll see you next time for Transformers 2 Revenge of the Fallen. The best movie
can't
ever.
wait. The big Autobot balls. Yes, can't wait.
Hell yeah. Enemy scrotum.